You know those moments when we're in a group of people and we feel like we're standing all alone. It's it's as if no one even sees you. And that was me the other day. I was in the store with my wife, and as she was finishing shopping, I decided to just walk around and maybe I'd catch a few eyes. But nothing. It wasn't as if anybody was ignoring me. It was just as if they were looking right through me. I looked down and I thought, I'm not dead, am I? Funny. Once upon a time, I was seen as vibrant, smart, attractive, and capable of almost anything. Then a funny thing happened. Yeah, I got older. Evidently, not too old to be alive, but too old to be noticed. I'm 75, and whether you're 40 or 60 or 85, I think you know what I mean. Why, just yesterday, we were making vital business decisions. We were raising families. We were guiding our children through the challenges of life, right? Our opinions mattered. We had boundless energy whenever the situation called for it. When did all of this change? Well, it wasn't just one single day that turned everything upside down. It was more like a slow roll into this new world where they said, just go sit over there, make yourself comfortable, ring this bell if you need something. Right. But even though it is gradual, often there's this watershed moment that crashes into you. Mine happened about 20 years back. I was in my office, in this very office right here, and I was having a discussion with a couple sitting across from me. They were in their 30s, and we were talking about work projects. The discussion turned towards a particular project that some people have a hard time accomplishing. That's when I said something like, well, that's not going to happen to people our age, is it? My God, you should have seen the man gasp in incredulity. It was as if it seemed like I saw a thought bubble up over his head that said, this 50-something guy thinks he's my age. So I quickly added, I guess I am a bit older than you are. He actually laughed out loud, so much so that his wife had to elbow him in the ribs. Well, soon enough, these kinds of things start happening more and more often. And we kind of get used to it, don't we? And if we're not careful, we can start to buy into it. We can start to believe the picture that people are painting of us. And now, we don't have to buy in, and we probably shouldn't. And truthfully, gosh, there are so many advantages of getting older. And we'll get into those in a minute. But first, I'd like to flesh out some of the challenges that we face as we age, because it's a good place to get started. I've got a list here of these challenges that we face, and I want to go through it. And as I do, I'd like you to think about where you might fit in, because the more we accept and understand the possible challenges, the less likely we're going to fall into the trap. So Here's the list. I call it the slow roll into the shadows. In our 40s, this is the beginning of being overlooked. Our arms aren't long enough to read the menu anymore. Energy starts to play hide and seek with us. You're now seen as experienced, which is just a code word for no longer adaptable. People stop asking for our opinions, which is a sure sign that invisibility is sneaking in. Then our 50s, the age of being overlooked. The body's now talking back to us. Health becomes a major topic for the first time in our lives. You become ma'am or sir instead of your name, even when they know your name. Actually, this was a tough time, a tough transition time for me as people started looking through me and past me. Kind of like the thought bubble boy that sent me out to pasture. Okay, now for our 60s and 70s and beyond, you're now approaching full invisibility. Energy, well, it's way more miss than hit. Health issues become way more commonplace. Physical changes give people permission to also question your mind. You aren't a leader anymore, you're more of a curiosity. You're now sensing a patronizing kindness that's almost worse than being ignored. Even people you love, they're starting to fall into that trap. My own daughter, she's 46, and she's brilliant, and I love her to death. Even she fell into this trap. I'll tell you what she did in a minute, but let's just say it kind of made me think I needed to set a few boundaries so I could avoid being managed. Which leads us to this: the loss of independence and agency, which happens progressively through our 60s and 70s. Often our slowing down leads to people talking over us, to decisions being not made with us, but for us. And maybe your experiences are a little bit different, but whatever they are, in our later decades, we can surely start to feel isolated, alone, like we're the only ones going through this. But we're not. And that's why I'm here. That's why you're here. We're sharing. It's cathartic. It's even energizing to find this common ground. So please, in the comments, tell me your age and what you're experiencing right now. Stop the video if you wish. Then come back for the bright side of aging. And I think you're going to like it. Okay, it's time to turn things around. It's not all bad. To a large degree, it's a mindset shift. It's a decision, or more likely, a series of decisions that helps us focus on the possible instead of what's becoming impossible as we age. But first, I'm going to share some quotes that will set the stage for us. The first one is by Clint Eastwood. And he says, I just get up every morning and I go out. And I don't let the old man in. Now, I think what he's saying there is aging is more of a mental surrender. The old man is a set of expectations that people put on us. Tiredness, resignation, and incapacity. Forget all that. The next quote is by Warren Buffett. He says, "Someone's sitting in the shade today because someone planted a tree a long time ago." This one is very, very personal for me. At the making of this video, I have no idea if maybe just one person will see it or just a small handful of people will see it. Because right now, my channel is almost invisible, just like I am. So why do I keep on going? Well, I'll tell you why. Because I'm planting seeds that I hope one day will grow into a tree that someone will be able to sit under and think. And for all I know, that person might be you right now. And now here's my final quote. This one's from Maya Angelou. She wrote, "I know why the caged bird sings." Here's her quote. "What I have learned about aging, despite the creakiness of one's old bones and the cragginess of one's once silken skin, is this: do it. By all means, do it." She saw through the physical aspects of aging and decided that fearless acceptance, regardless of what the world is throwing at us, is the only way to go. And boy, do I agree. So now let me share what I'm learning, or how I'm learning to turn these potential negatives into positives. And this is how I try to let the world do what it does while I do what I want to do, without apologies or regrets. I call these the advantages that no one seems to talk about. And some of them are absolute gifts. First, let's talk about the flip side of being invisible. I can now walk into a room and observe without needing to perform. I can wear what I want. I can say what I think. And the pressure to impress, mostly gone. There's a freedom in this invisibility that my 35-year-old self would have died for. Here's a story of an early morning walk that I took very recently. I do go out quite early in the morning. Anyway, this morning I saw the moon as it rose. It was a tiny sliver, hardly anything at all. What that sliver showed me was the dark side of the moon. A funny thing though, that dark side, it didn't look solid. It actually looked like someone had taken a giant hole punch to the universe and popped a hole right through the sky. It was as if I could see through the sky into nothingness. It was weird. It made me think that it's kind of like getting older. You start to feel like that hole. People looking right through the space that you occupy. Like you've been punched out of the picture. But just then I looked a little closer and I could make out a thin line, a little brightness around the dark side of the moon that gave definition to the entire moon. The scientists call that the earth shine. Not only does the reflection of the earth allow us to see the night side of the moon, which is that hole whole effect, it also creates the effect of this razor thin line around the dark edge that defines the entirety of the moon. Even when we think we're looking right through it, it demonstrates that it's really there. The moon is not gone after all. The thing is, even when we look like an empty hole to everyone else, we know we are still solid. We are still whole. We're just being lit by a different source now. The light of our own lives, the light of our own memories. So, just like the moon, we are still here too. And once you realize that you're still whole, you stop worrying about who is or isn't seeing you. And you start focusing on who is standing with you. And that's why I don't mind dealing with fewer friends these days. It's no longer about the quantity, it's about the quality. I'm done with the obligatory relationships, with the exhausting social calendar. The people in my life now are the ones that value each other. Every phone call is important. Every get together isn't a party, it's more like a memory making reunion. And what about fewer responsibilities? Yeah, I've raised my kids. I built my career. I proved what I needed to prove. And now my time is mine. I can read at 2 o'clock in the afternoon if I want, every day. I can pursue that hobby that I let go of 30 or 40 years ago. I can say no without explanation or guilt. I can even relish being invisible. And as to time freedom, my wife and I took a 3-week drive up into Canada to attend a stretching seminar. That's right. 3 weeks for 3 days of stretching. My younger self could never have decided to take that time. And as to being underestimated, well, let them. I prove myself to me now. Here's that story I promised about my daughter, whom I adore. We were in the kitchen the other day, and my wife and I did something silly. I don't know what it was. And she said, "Oh, you guys are so cute." Now, of course, she meant that with love. But there was this sense that she'd kind of witnessed something unexpectedly charming, like we'd performed a trick, almost like we were two plush bears who suddenly came to life right out of our lifelessness. Uh, you know, perhaps years ago, I would have felt the need to defend myself, to prove that I was still vibrant, strong, and capable. But now, I didn't mind at all. Yeah, she can think we're cute, and because we were being cute, we were being silly and playful and very much ourselves. And I'm not giving that up for a moment, not for anyone. Look, I'm not sitting here saying that aging is a bed of roses. It's not. We went through many of those a minute ago. But buying into the narrative that we're diminished, irrelevant, or past our primes, that's a choice. And like Clint Eastwood, I get up every morning and I don't let the old man in. It's not denial. I just have things to do. I have thoughts to think. I have seeds to plant. So, no, I'm not dead. I'm not invisible. I'm not inferior. I'm just no longer auditioning for relevance. So do this for me. Drop a comment. What's one advantage of your age that you wouldn't trade for anything? What's one freedom that you have that you never would have had before? Let's flip this script together. And while you're at it, subscribe to my Life at 75 Reflections series, because we're just getting started. There's so much more to explore, more to challenge, and more to celebrate about our aging. We're not done, are we? I'll see you on the next one.